Shut your mouth.
Shut for 1 second. Shut for a second.
Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth.
What did
You're
you
just
just
coming
say?
off stupid.
Objection. Objection. Objection.
Remember when television was good? What say you, everybody? We are back. Legally speaking, number 9. You know what? I never even checked that. We are 9, right? Yes, number 9 is live. We have a whole lot of stuff to talk about. Lot of stuff. Things that probably should have been videos last week and weren't because work was just super freaking busy. Jason J's in the chat. Lily, how are you? You saw that I did actually end up uploading that rant at the end of my last one. I did that just for you. I hope you enjoyed it. So yeah. So I mean, we're not going to go straight to the first thing. There's a bunch of like tiny little topics to talk about, and as we always do, we're going to kind of interlace them with some of the bigger tent poles. But guys, don't forget, think about the stuff that you want commented on. If we have time to ring, we'll bring it up. The first thing that I want to talk about is something happened. Was it last week? Was that school event last week? Let's look. The Minneapolis thing. Yeah, last week. It was like last Wednesday, right? What's up, Bruce? So yeah. So there was another SS event. We obviously we need to be careful how we talk about it. I don't want the channel struck. There's a lot to talk about. But oh, and don't worry about it, Bruce. I put this at 30 because I figured, Monday Night Hangover would be long. Isn't it usually a 2-hour event? What time does Monday Night Hangover start? Ooh, is this a video game? Hang on, I need to save something to watch later. 6 p.m. Yeah, it's a 2-hour thing. It didn't run long. If it's already over, it actually ended early. Yeah, they should be. Yeah, of course they're still going. Okay, maybe he'll raid me. So Jason, I am not going to. There is one event of those events that I believe to be closely related to some sort of, let's call it a psyop, and it's the Las Vegas thing. Beyond that, I am not going to argue, entertain, debate any sort of, because the sheer amount of evil connected to it is beyond comprehension. It's the sort of thing that if I'm wrong, I choose right now to remain ignorant to it. What the So we are just now. What you just saw was me remembering that 7 months ago I moved these Lego helmets from up here and just remembered that I did it. Okay, Caleb, calm the fuck down. Yeah. So I choose to remain. We can say ignorant. We can say I choose to think it in one way. Yeah, it really doesn't matter. But the reason I bring all this up is because we've got the former vice president of the Democratic Party, the former vice president of the Democratic National Convention, talking about how much of a coward Donald Trump is for failing to enact meaningful gun reform measurements. And I have to say, to this day, I still think it is dumb as shit that that this guy has made his entire life about something that happened to him as a kid. Also, that he won an election and then was recalled. His election was nullified because they decided that he was white. Like, how bullshit is that? Like, that's the level of democracy or republicanism in this country, that he ran for vice chair of the DNC, loses and wins the election. If I recall correctly, he won by a considerable margin, and they recalled him because he was white. Guys, give me 1 second. I will be. You bring that up because the Virginia Tech was the first one that I remember. I remember being, sixth grade. Let's see if I'm right about that. So this was 07. So I would, in April of 07, I would have been in sixth grade. So I was in sixth grade during that. And I just remember being like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I wasn't scared. I wasn't worried. It was more like what is this? It was sort of like during 9/11, I wasn't scared. I was smart enough and intelligent enough to understand that what this meant was something, the world had changed. Sort of like what they say in Lord of the Rings. The world is changing. But Virginia Tech, and if you go back and you look at so many of these events, again, we have to be careful what we say on YouTube. But if you go back and look at so many of these events, so many of them, the perpetrator has got something messed up in their life. Whether it is a genuine mental illness, like this dude, the Nashville dude, or they just, their life just really sucks. If I recall correctly, this one, the one in Florida, he was just super bullied, right? Or that's what they claim. Yeah, all that stuff. Who gives a shit, honestly? But it just shocks me how quickly people are willing to give up rights that not only did our founders consider to be truly important, but rights that without them, we wouldn't be here. Remember, Y'all remember, okay, that the whole reason that the American Revolution popped off, the whole reason that the Boston militia was there at Lexington and then there at Concord 9 hours later, and there on the April Green in Massachusetts. The whole reason they were there was because they found out that the British soldiers were coming to confiscate their guns. That's why it happened. It wasn't the taxation. It wasn't this. It wasn't that. It wasn't common sense. It wasn't. Without that incident, the entire thing likely would have been handled very peacefully. It would have probably looked a lot like when Brazil broke away from Portugal. It would have been a bunch of yelling. It would have been a bunch of letters, and then finally, you know what? We're just going to do it. But Britain came for the guns, and we said, "Fuck no." It's kind of like when Japan touched our boats. We said, "Whoa, fuck no," and then we dropped 2 sons on them. Give me 1 second. Let me grab me a drink. And let me make sure I'm right about this before I correct Jason. Oh, never mind. Jason was right. So I just think it's crazy. You know, I was really disappointed in what I heard Trey Gowdy say over the weekend, and I still need to go back and rewatch the whole interview because I'm still not entirely sure that I heard him right. I think what he said probably blew up in a way that he didn't mean it to, because I mean, look, this would be the very first time that I've ever heard Trey Gowdy ever espouse any sort of anti-gun viewpoint. So I don't know. I think I think this might be a case of he messed up what he was trying to say. I that's my hope. 11 minutes ago, Donald Trump announced that he will award Mayor Giuliani the Presidential Mayor Medal of Freedom. Jason, that's not always a good thing. That doesn't always mean that you know what you're talking about. Trust me, from some of the people that I know that are also great ×8 grandsons of great men. Margaretti says America does not like people touching our boats. World War II, World War I, Spanish American War, War of 1812, War of the Barbarian Pirates, and what World War I. It wasn't even our fucking boat. They were just Americans on it. Yeah, I'm very concerned about New York. I'm concerned about all of our big cities. New York, Chicago, LA. I think LA is going to get out of control. They have to. They have to get LA under control because it's going to be one of the host cities for the Olympics and the World Cup. It has to get under control, and that's what I think. That's what I think a lot of these people don't understand is if they don't get this shit under control, then any shot we have of taking true advantage of the World Cup and the Olympics is going to be gone. You've got an opportunity to have millions of people come to the country for a couple of weeks drop billions of dollars into our cities and our economy, and you want to fuck that up? Like, no, let's not do that. Let's do this right. Let's have safe cities. Let's get crime down. Let's tell people, you know what? We're not going to let you just steal $950 worth of stuff without getting in trouble. We're going to do what Orange County did. Y'all remember that? Y'all saw those videos shortly after the election with all the people that were robbing in Orange County, and they were like, "Oh shit, no, it's December 20th that bill got enacted," and suddenly they're going to prison because Orange County wasn't going to play that shit anymore. And the thing that scares me the most about that is not only does that prove that the broken windows theory works, but it also proves that these criminals know where they can and cannot steal. They are fully aware of all of this shit. Jason, you are wrong. Jason. Okay, guys, this is not true. Jason, the Supreme Court made a decision in George v. whatever it was in like 81 or 89, whatever, and said in this instance, the police officer that was under no obligation to protect this person. This person was a bystander. He was not the person at the subject of the officer's stop. Go and read the case, my brother. I promise you, go and read it. I'll pull it up right now. Castle Rock. I got too much shit in front of me right now. Hang on, let me move some shit. See, there are 2 or 3 cases where this happened. Let me see if Castle Rock's the case. I gotta fix my mustache. All right, I got Winnebago open as well. One of them, someone brought this up like 3 months ago on what's it called? On Welcome to the Rebellion. And you know what? I think I did. Hang on, because I think I sent a super chat about it, which means I can pull up which one it was. How do you look at your super chats? Go to my channel. Purchases and memberships. It's a while ago. That's funny. I don't think I can see. I think I can only see that I did it. I don't think I can actually see the super chat. Well, oh well. Okay. I can see, Lily, I can see that I did it, but I can't see the actual super chat itself. In DeShaney v. Winnebago, the Supreme Court held that the Constitution does not impose an affirmative duty on local or state governments to protect individuals from harm caused by private parties unless the individual has a special relationship with the state. Hang on, what just said? Then, if that's the case, explain why 3 of the same use all 3 cases to get away with it. Okay, so this is where he. Okay, Mark, I might need your help on this one. So, because I'm gonna see. So this thing, I need to remember not only the order of events for Uvalde. Jason, this might have to be like a special conversation, dude. Okay, so and you brought up Gonzalez as well, right? Castle Rock v. Gonzalez. Town of Castle Rock. Okay, 2 words. Okay, so okay. DeShaney is not great precedent for police officers. DeShaney was not about police officers. It was about children protective services. Cop Scott Pearson of the Florida schools. Scott Peterson. Is Scott Peterson one person? What the fuck is it with my typing? I'm getting a different case, buddy. Florida. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. Okay. What was he charged for? Yeah. Okay. Appears to believe the shooting was happening in a second. Okay. Wow, that's fucking weird. I know this is looking real bored right now, guys, but I think it's gonna pick up. Don't worry. Okay, I need his actual charges. Okay. State of no, hang on, Jason. Florida versus Scott Pearson. Because see, this is the problem. That there is a misconception over what the 3 cases that you cited are about and what they say. It is the same problem with the you see when someone posts an article and says, and I'm not saying you're doing this, Jason. I'm not. Don't think that. It is the same problem when someone posts an article and says, "I cannot believe police are allowed to do this," and the article headline says, "Judge rules police can shoot dogs." It's like, no, that's not what happened. That's not what the case said. That's not what the judge said. The judge said in this case, this officer was not guilty of second-degree murder because he shot the dog because he was in actual fear of his life. Should cops shoot dogs? No. If a cop is being chased by a dog and the dog is going and he has an actual reason to fear for his life, then that officer can shoot the dog. Now, obviously, this is a different case. This is a different instance. But what I'm trying to make the point using sort of a metaphor, basically. Did he run away? I don't think he ran away. He was outside, wasn't he? So this was Jason. I don't have the time, and this is not the right venue for this, but very cursory glance at this. This is the same problem, and Florida seems to do this a lot. This is the same problem that Florida had with the George Zimmerman trial. George Zimmerman probably should have been found guilty of manslaughter, but they didn't put manslaughter on the board. They gave him second-degree murder and what was it? It's not third degree, it was something else. I don't believe they charged him with first degree. They gave him second-degree murder and something else. And they charged him incorrectly. In this case, they charged Scott Peterson incorrectly. They tried to use a statute that had never been used against police officers before. And then they tried to claim that he was a caregiver when police officers are not caregivers under Florida state statutes. So this is what they should have charged him with is something like neglect of duty, or they should have gone after pension or some bullshit like that. Yeah, Zimmerman is doing time now. God, have I told you all that story? I was in a fucking Walmart in the hood. And my dad had sent me there to get this like baby monitor for something. I don't even remember what it was for. And so I go in and I'm in the aisle and my hand is on the monitor that I'm going to grab. And my phone, I get like a big old, like a bunch of alerts on my phone immediately. I was like, the fuck is that? So I grab it, I put it to the side, I pull out my phone, I look at it, I go, I see George Zimmerman acquitted. And I go, I need to get the fuck out of here. So I go straight to the checkout. I'm sitting in line, and also I've got three big guys behind me. And suddenly I hear, the fuck? And I was like, oh, dear God, please. Please let me just get out of here. And obviously I got out of here because I'm still alive. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. Okay, I'm going to move on. Match, that's exactly what happens. That is exactly what happens. What's his face in Wisconsin? The guy. You know, the kid that shot a bunch of guys. What's his name? Kyle Rittenhouse. Rittenhouse probably should have been charged and convicted of something. Okay, there is a litany of stuff they could have convicted him of, but they decided, we're going to charge you with first-degree murder of a PDF. How no one was going to, even if they didn't like him, no one's going to sit there and say that terrible person's life is worth more than his. They weren't going to do that. Not to mention that prosecutor. I've never, and Mark will back me up on this, I've never seen a prosecutor try to make arguments that were against day one criminal law rules. One of the foundations of criminal law, shut your fucking mouth. That's the rule. Give me my lawyer and be quiet. And he tried to introduce his silence as guilt. And there are very few cases that you can introduce silence as evidence. Well, Jason, that sounds like something you should fix. Start by voting in a better sheriff, then get better city councilmen, then get better representatives, and put them all under the prison. That's what I would do. Okay, let's look back at Twitter because there's a whole bunch of shit on here. Mark Reality says they overcharged Rittenhouse, but they didn't have any lesser included offenses. The Rittenhouse prosecutors were idiots, and that they were. They were absolute retards. So we all know that there is a pretty shitty situation going on over in the UK with freedom of speech, right? Yeah, exactly, Lee. No First Amendment in the UK. Absolutely none. And part of the failure of that is that the UK believes that they have this outreach, this power to go after the internet. And one of the things that Ofcom, the UK Office of Communications, wants to do is they want to go after American companies and American social media companies for letting us say what we want. So 4chan, they sent a letter to 4chan basically saying, you know what, let me actually pull up the complaint. I ought to ask Ron if I can get the complaint. 125-CB-2880. I hope this actually pulls it up. It should. Here we go. In the United States District Court for the District of Columbia, 4chan Community Support LLC versus the UK. I mean, can y'all imagine showing this? Holy shit. Can y'all imagine showing this case caption to someone a decade ago? So Ron Coleman is going to be one of the attorneys on this case. Let's look at the introduction to this. The internet is a global system of communication between computer servers located in data centers around the world. Despite the internet's global reach, it is more or less universally acknowledged that the internet is predominantly an American innovation, built by American citizens, residents, and companies, and that the United States has the largest and most thriving technology center of any G7 member state. It should still be G8, but they're a bunch of pussies. Foreign governments, particularly those in Europe, which have not managed to build technology sectors of their own, have for the past half decade or more sought to control the American internet and hobble American competitiveness through a range of legislative and non-legislative initiatives. And that's so true. Think about 6 years ago when there were all those jokes about, hey, send this meme to a friend of yours in Europe and see him get kicked out of his video game. We still have the case here today where if you're playing people from China and they're beating you, if you just start typing in the text to chat, Tiananmen Square, what happened in 1968 or whenever it was, the Chinese government will actually cut their internet out because they don't want them to know. One of the best parts about Minecraft was there was a server that was quite literally a library, and it allowed anyone from all over the world, even in China, even in these like Iran or these dictatorial countries where they control the spread of information. It allowed them to actually go in and read books. People from Iran could go in and read the Bible. People from China could go in and read anything because you can't read shit in China. And now, people found out about it, and then government started cracking down on different servers in Minecraft. But it allowed for a dissemination of thought and information that we had not seen since Johann Gutenberg invented the printing press in 1492 in Germany. I think that year's right. But the sheer power that the United States has when it comes to the internet, these countries are terrified of it. They don't want us to be able to necessarily reach there. And honestly, we have a similar fear. If you I can't remember the name of the law, Jason might know it. But there's a law that basically restricts Google from finding news articles from outside governments. I don't think it restricts Sky or the ABC out of Australia, which is the Australian broadcast company. But it's harder to find news articles from like Venezuela or Iran, something like that. But yeah, it terrifies these countries. These foreign governments have threatened American and other non-European entrepreneurs with a wide range of coercive threats, including fines, arrests, and imprisonment for engaging in conduct which is perfectly lawful in the territories where their websites are based, including the United States. The arrest of Russian internet entrepreneur Pavel Durov, founder of Telegram Messenger Incorporated, a BVI company, by French authorities in 2024, or the opening of a criminal file against U.S. social media company X Corp, a Texas corporation, also by French prosecutors in July of 2025. See, one of the things these countries need to figure out, this is not the same government y'all were fucking around with 4 years ago, or even a decade ago. This is not Donald Trump from 2018. This is the Donald Trump that was shot at and almost killed. This guy's not fucking around. So the fact that they think they can just threaten American innovation and technology and get away with it, we just sanctioned a federal judge in Brazil. You think we won't sanction the president of France? Who fucks the dude? What's up, Hokies? How you doing? No, Jason, it's like an actual law. Let me see if Grok can give me a indication. There's someone in the GCA that would know. Isn't there a federal internet law that restricts news sources from outside the U.S.? Let's see. I could be making this up, but I'm pretty sure there's something. No, it's not FARA. I might be thinking of OFAC. Okay, I'm mean, it's possible. I'm thinking of OFAC, so which tells me that it's not news in general, but business with. So it's not that Google is prohibited from making the newspaper article from Venezuela Times populate. It's that Google is prohibited from doing business with Venezuela. So two kind of different things. Yes, Mark Reality. They found these like police stations, and so it's a similar thing that Muslims are doing over here. You've got these police stations in different neighborhoods and different towns that have high Chinese or in the Islam thing, Muslim populations that act as police stations. So you've got like in New York, they found one near, I think it was Times Square, where it was probably near, Little China, whatever it's called, where they would show up, they would interfere with the police, and their entire job was to make sure that the Chinese citizens, who, let's be honest, were probably spies, were not ever like cornered or forced to give information against China. In Dearborn, Michigan, they've got a bunch of these police things for Sharia law that do the same thing. They go out, they make sure the men are never arrested for doing these terrible, awful crimes, and they protect them against any investigation. It's the same thing that gangs do. It's the same thing that the mob was doing in the 20s and 30s. Now, the somewhat decent thing about the mob was that if they found people doing these things that they're doing to young girls, they would whack them. And they fill their feet of cement and pour them in the East River. They're not doing that in Dearborn. Where were we? I feel like we got off track. The United Kingdom recently joined France in seeking to apply its domestic laws to the rest of the world with the enactment of its censorship law, the Online Safety Act of 2023. Immediately after the OSA's substantive provisions entered into force, this censorship law was used to target the free speech of American citizens. The Online Safety Act grants wide commercial powers to a corporation that corporation, Ofcom, defined below, now uses these powers to communicate written threats to impose ruinous civil penalties and referral to law enforcement for criminal penalties, including arrest and imprisonment to American real and corporate citizens if Ofcom orders are not obeyed. This is what I want to see. So 4chan has sued Ofcom in the DC circuit courts. Okay. What I would love to see is that stupid MP or PM to get sued. I want to see someone actually go after Kier, whatever his dumb name is. Kier Basham, some bullshit like that. Hey, what's up, Irish? You got a new thing. What is that? All right. Yeah, Keir Starmer. Yeah, that dumbass. Hey, y'all remember this dumbass? Remember Judge Hannah Dugan?
This is plainclothes.
She's the Milwaukee County judge that is now facing federal charges. So I've done a couple of videos on this idiot. Her entire thing was that she was sitting there and realized that someone that she had just, I believe, released from her courtroom was there to be was going to be detained by ICE. So she walks out. She goes and talks with these ICE agents, and these ICE agents are like, "Yeah, we're here for Jose or whatever his name was." And she goes, "Oh, okay." Then she goes back inside. She grabs Jose and has him leave through her private entrance or exit, I guess. And they realize, oh, she's just tried to dupe us. So now they actually placed her under arrest. Well, a federal judge just ruled that she can actually face charges for this. Now, she faces multiple charges, a felony, 6 years in prison. I don't think she gets 6 years. I think she probably gets convicted. She gets like 2 or 3 years, suspended sentence, has to get some sort of probation thing. And we'll all sit there and say, oh, she should go to jail. She probably should. But let's remember, one of the really great things about this would be if she gets convicted of a felony, her bar license is gone. So her ability to be a judge, depending on Wisconsin's laws, is probably gone as well. So she's got to go, work on the bread line herself now. So that would be fun to see. Yeah, and no, I mean it's pathetic. Everyone is above the law until it helps the Democratic Party. That's what it really is. Let's see. So next week we should get a hearing on the Texas stuff. Probably not. So this wouldn't the only way this would affect her past cases is if they found that she had a history of flouting the law, I guess. So remember when I first started talking about this, there's basically a outside of the appeals process, there's a reporting process basically. And 99% of all reports are thrown out because they're complaints about, oh, I don't like the judge that did this, or this judge didn't like me, and so that, and that's no basis for their review. The problem is that these judges, they get a pass on so much stuff, and the chief judges and whoever that like review these complaints give such deference to their judges that they can almost get away with anything. Now, if you get proof that the judge is taking a bribe, or you get proof that the judge knows the defendant and isn't taking himself or herself off the case, recusing themselves, then that's grounds for mistrial. It's grounds for a new trial. It's grounds for a whole lot of stuff. But finding out that your judge is just an asshole or doesn't like Donald Trump, it's not enough. I wish I could give you better news. Okay, so the big thing that I'm going to talk about, and honestly, I was really hoping that there would be more people here for this one. It's definitely going to be a video, so hopefully they'll see that. But there is a very big issue going on, and Donald Trump is at the center of it. So last week, Donald Trump announced that he was signing an executive order to ban the burning of the American flag. And I reacted to that. I reacted to it the way I think most attorneys would react to it, saying this is categorically against the First Amendment. This is illegal. You can't do this. And I am still correct. The problem is that I reacted like a liberal. I reacted without reading the fucking thing. So then I read it and I was like, oh, this is really clever. This is because it's clever. It is really neat what he did. So y'all remember the soldier that burned a flag like 2 weeks ago? Let me pull this dude up. Thanks, Bash. Let me see if this is it. Okay, this dumbass. Y'all remember this guy? This was like 2 weeks ago.
The protest to that illegal fascist president that sits in that house. Do this for every single one of you American citizens. We burn this flag in protest to that president who feels that it's his right to do whatever he wants, make whatever law he wants.
So, Mark, you should know better than anyone. That's not arson. Arson is the burning of a dwelling. At night is what? No, night is burglary. So this guy was arrested and charged, and there were a lot of people that were like, "You can't arrest someone for burning the American flag," and you are correct. You cannot arrest someone for just burning the American flag. It is very clear in both RAV versus the City of St. Paul and Texas v. Johnson that burning the American flag is an act of speech related to your First Amendment protections. And it is protected without a doubt. But that is not what he was arrested for. He was arrested for an illegal burning in a federal park. He started an illegal fire. That's why he was arrested. And that's what the executive order makes illegal. So, well, sort of. So the executive order requires that federal and state prosecutors go after these people, after people that burn the American flag, and look for any crime they may have committed. Exactly, Hokies. So this guy's thing and the executive order make it very clear that it's not they're going to go after people that burn the American flag, but they're not going after them. They're not being convicted or tried for burning the American flag. They're being tried for doing dumb shit in places they're not supposed to. If you want to sit in your backyard, throw an American flag in an oil drum and say, "I don't like Donald Trump," and burn your country's flag, you're free to do that. But you better not do it in California where you're not allowed to burn shit in your backyard, because you'll be arrested by federal agents, because California state people aren't touching that shit. They're too big of pussies. But that's what I think is so funny about this. It's such like an intelligent way of fighting back. it's the correct way of doing lawfare, in my opinion. Oh, it's not. No. So, Margaret, that's the thing. If I recall, and let me pull up the actual Trump's flag burning executive order. Third result. Is this it? Okay, here we go. Share this tab instead. By the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered. Number one, our great American flag is the most sacred and cherished symbol of the United States of America and of American freedom, identity, and strength. Over nearly 2.5 centuries, many thousands of American patriots have fought, bled, and died to keep the stars and stripes waving proudly. The American flag is a special symbol in our national life that should unite and represent all Americans of every background and walk of life. Desecrating it is uniquely offensive and provocative. It is a statement of contempt, hostility, and violence against our nation. The clearest possible expression of opposition to the political union that preserves our rights, liberties, and security. I'll tell you what, whoever writes this, promote them. Burning the representation of America may incite violence and riot. American flag burning is also used by groups of foreign nationals as calculated acts to intimidate and threaten violence against Americans because of their nationality and places of birth. Now, one thing I will say is, if this man had sat there, let me share it again one more time. If this man had sat there and said, now let us march and dethrone him or something like that, absolutely a violation of the First Amendment. It is an absolute violation. You cannot burn the American flag as an act of violence and an act to incite violence. This is not an act to incite violence. He is actually saying right there that that's not what he's doing. An intent, to borrow a phrase of art, is 9/10 of the law. Notwithstanding the Supreme Court's rulings on First Amendment protections, the court has never held the American flag desecration conducted in a manner that is likely to incite imminent lawless action or that is an action. Sorry, I got to read over here. Or that is an action amounting to fighting words is constitutionally protected. See Texas v. Johnson. And that's true. Just like what I just said. The court did not say that burning the American flag every single time is protected. It said when you burn the American flag and you are not trying to incite violence or create an angry outburst, basically, you have not committed a violation of the First Amendment. But when you burn the American flag, like what we see them do in Iran and Iraq and Afghanistan, like what a bunch of them did in down in Italy, like 15 years ago, that is your attempt to incite violence. That's not what this guy's doing here. My administration will act to restore respect and sanctity to the American flag and prosecute those who incite violence or otherwise violate our laws while desecrating this symbol of our country to the fullest extent permissible under any available authority. The Attorney General shall prioritize the enforcement to the fullest extent possible of our nation's criminal and civil laws against acts of American flag desecration that violate applicable content-neutral laws. And that's important. Okay. Fuck. I should have been more prepared. So, content-neutral laws are laws that basically swing both ways. That they were not passed to punish one particular group of people or to protect one group of one thought or something like that. So, one example would be we have free speech zones at colleges. One of the rules about free speech zones is they're supposed to be content neutral, meaning you can speak to either side in those areas. They're also supposed to be in high traffic areas. At the University of South Carolina, a decade ago, I don't know if it's still the case, we had 2. And I could actually pull up where they were. I think now there's probably more because the university has grown a little bit. Where is the university? State House. There we go. Okay. Let me just make sure that there isn't any private information on this page. Okay, I think I'm good. All right, so this right here is the main campus in the University of South Carolina. Okay, this is Green Street. Yeah, Wade Hampton, but this is Russell House. This is the student union, and this free speech zone right here is along this section of Green Street. Now, that's where 92% of the university crosses this street every day. They're going over here for their classes. They're going up here for their classes. They're coming from their dorm rooms over here down to eat lunch here. They're coming from parking over here or going to the library. They're coming up here. That's one of the reasons why it's there. So the other one is right here. There's a bridge right here. This is one of the other ones because this has probably about 80% of the student traffic. So one of the requirements has to have heavy foot traffic. Wait, no, we were sharing this. I wish I had Chick-fil-A. I'm gonna have Chick-fil-A later this week. This may include, but it's not limited to, violent crimes, grilled chicken and cheese ravioli. Holy shit, Jason, that sounds good. This may include, but it's not limited to, violent crimes, hate crimes, illegal discrimination against American citizens, or other violations of American civil rights, and crimes against property and the peace, as well as conspiracies and attempts to violate and aiding and abetting others to violate such laws. So another example here would be, let's say someone were to take my American flag and burn it. This executive order requires the United States Attorney General to go after that person for my theft of property. Or their theft of my property, I should say. In cases where the Department of Justice or another executive department or agency determines that an instance of American flag desecration may violate an applicable state or local law, such as open burning restrictions, disorderly conduct laws, or destruction of property laws, the agency shall refer the matter to the appropriate state or local authority for potential action. So that is probably where it will end most of the time. They're definitely gonna start hitting this quickly and hard. I don't think that I don't think this has a lot of legs, and not because I think it's going to get struck down or anything like that. I think, as I've read it so far, it definitely complies with Texas v. Johnson. But I do think that's the sort of thing that's more supposed to be a headline, a flash in the bucket, a kind of a, hey, y'all better start behaving type thing. I don't think this is the sort of thing that we wake up in, 3 years and see, John has been convicted under, let's pick a more neutral state. Missouri state law 32 because he burned the flag back in 2026. I don't think we see that. I think you're going to see a whole bunch of fines. You're going to see a whole bunch of arrests, but you're not going to see a bunch of jail time and trials and shit like that. But this will be another thing that the left uses to take Donald Trump to court. They're going to try to attack this. They're going to try to go after this, and it's not going to work. Because, like I said, and look, I'm not the Supreme Court. Every now and then I wish I was, but they may read this and go, are you kidding me? You can't do this. This isn't what we meant. I doubt it, but they could. They do it a couple times every year. Let's see. Ten victims of Jeffrey Epstein will break their silence at a Wednesday news conference along Representative Thomas Massey and per Representative Rokana. Shit's going to happen. What's up, KC? KC is in the house. How you doing? So this is the big deal, guys. President Donald Trump is reportedly preparing to deploy hundreds of DHS agents to Chicago, Illinois, to assist with deportation operations. Now, this is clearly Trump's playbook, okay? Trump wants these cities, these crown jewels of our country, back in American hands. He's tired of seeing the murder and the crime and just the disgustingness of all of these different cities. So he is probably going to do the same thing over and over in every one of these cities, and it's going to work every time. So Hokies asks, how would he do that? Chicago is not a federal district. Well, they're DHS agents. They're not National Guardsmen. And how is this able to happen? Because Gavin Newsom is a fucking idiot. Remember what I said. Gavin Newsom's the dumbest thing that man has done in the last 7 years of being governor was suing Donald Trump for federalizing the California National Guard. That was the dumbest thing he did because now there is precedent. So here's what's going to happen. In the next 2 weeks, Donald Trump's going to send 1,000 federal agents to Chicago. Within 2 days, there are going to be riots. People are going to burn shit. And it's going to be chaos. Donald Trump is going to immediately, through order of his Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, federalize the Illinois National Guard and send them in. Because he did it in California and it worked. Now, I don't really care one way or the other. I think a lot of shit needs to happen in Chicago to get that city fixed. But if Newsom wanted any shot of having strong blue cities going into 2028, he lost it when he sued Donald Trump. Are they going to make people have background checks to get Subway? No. Hokies start to sound like a liberal. Just saying. But yeah, so that's what's so funny about this is, and I've said this. I feel like I've said the same thing for the last 5 weeks, for the last 3 months. Gavin Newsom was an idiot to try to do this. What he's basically done is he has laid out the entire plan of Trump's next 3 years. Actually, next year and a half, because it needs to get done in time for the Olympics in 26. Right? Shit, is it? No, there's 28, aren't they? Because the Winter Olympics are next, aren't they? LA Olympics. Yeah, they're 28. And when's the World Cup? 26? '26, yeah. It's going to be incredible. United States, Canada, and Mexico. It's seriously, this could be awesome. So he's got until June of next year to get these cities under control. So this is what's going to happen, okay? This is Donald Trump's next year, okay? He's gonna start throwing federal police at these cities. Starting early next year, he's going to start attacking the real estate market. He's going to get that interest rate lowered. People are going to start buying houses, and we are all going to have an assload of money in our bank account by June of next year. And then the U.S. is going to be able to. I would bet Donald Trump shows up on the TV in November of next year and says, as the final push for elections, and says, my next order of business when Congress is recalled in January is to eliminate the income tax. We have just taken in $2 trillion. We are going to use half of that to do whatever. Jason, he is out. He can no longer run. California has, I believe, a 2-term policy, and he has used up his 2 terms. Sorry, I need a drink. No, Jason, he's retarded. He's not termed. He's retarded. Come on. What else is there to talk about, guys? I know there's more. There's definitely more stuff. Anyone got any questions? Hey, does anyone speak Spanish in here? No, Jason, she already said she's not going to do it. Okay, so who remembers the beautiful story of the caning of Charles Sumner? Charles Sumner was a United States senator from Illinois. And, Casey, we didn't. I will do that next. And then I'll get to redistricting. So Charles Sumner was a no, they weren't Republicans back then. It was something. I forget what state he was from. So he gets up on the Senate floor and he starts talking about how this Democrat from South Carolina is an adulterer and just defames the shit out of this guy. Well, this guy's brother, might have been cousin, was so angered by what Charles Sumner would say that, and he was a member of the House of Representatives at the time, that he walked across the Capitol building, took his cane, and beat the shit out of Charles Sumner in the Senate. And this reminds me of it. So these are 2 senators in Mexico, in the Mexican Senate, who are arguing over allowing the federal government, the U.S., to send forces in to eliminate these cartels. Let's just watch. And I have no idea what anyone's saying. And I'll be honest, I don't even know whose side is whose. My guess, based only on looks, is this guy is pro-intervention, and this guy is scared that he's going to lose his money, financial support. That's a guess based on nothing but the way they look. And sort of the way they fight. So I don't know whose side is. Let's see if the comments have an answer. Now there's an article. Lawmaker Alejandro Moreno, leader of the opposition PRI party, went to the podium on Wednesday's session ended and angrily confronted Senate President Gerardo Fernandez Norano of the ruling Morena party for not being given the floor. Moreno can be seen in the video posted on social media by Mexico Senator pushing Fernandez Norano several times, slapping him on the neck and pushing another man to the ground when he tried to intervene. Okay, so Moreno okay. The brawl followed a heated debate during which the opposition PRI and PAN were accused of calling for U.S. military intervention, a claim that both parties deny. So the Morena party accused. So Moreno. Okay, let's see who Alejandro Moreno is. Alejandro Moreno. I was right. I think I was right. Okay. So the dude with his finger up went to the podium to yell at the guy with the gray beard that he wasn't allowed to speak. And that's because the Morena party, which is in control of the Senate, is accusing him and his party of wanting military intervention from the U.S. Holy shit, guys. That was difficult to get through. I'm sorry. Oh. Okay. What did everyone say? How do we know they're not just ordering lunch? Lucha Libre fell off. Okay, so what do I say we were going to talk about next? Casey brought it up. Tariffs. Okay, so there is a federal judge that ruled that most of Donald Trump's tariffs were unconstitutional. And that's because Donald Trump made them under the hang on. My chair fell down again. There we go. Donald Trump made these tariffs under a emergency. What was it? Donald Trump tariffs ruling. Oh, I'm sorry, man. I instead of buying a better chair, I bought a bunch of Legos. Let's see. Formally declared national. Donald Trump declared national emergency so that he could justify the tariffs. So Friday, 7-4 appeals court decision tossed out a part of that ruling, striking down the tariffs immediately. So here's what happened. Oh, Hokies! I would spend $1,000 for that Lego set. So the Mark. So a federal court in May struck down the tariffs. Trump appealed, and the Court of Appeals said, yes, they're illegal, but we are not going to make you end them immediately. We're going to give you, and it's like 5 months to appeal. And so obviously they're going to appeal to the United States Supreme Court. And I think it's going to be a 5-4 decision. I think one of them probably sides with the liberals. But I don't know what. Here we go. Sometimes the news is worth a little something. I don't like how CBS is calling him Mr. Trump. It's President Trump. Justified the taxes under the 1977 International Emergency Economic Powers Act by declaring long-standing U.S. trade deficits a national emergency. In February, he invoked the law to impose tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China, saying that illegal immigration and drug trafficking amounted to a national emergency and that 3 countries needed to do more to stop it. The U.S. Constitution gives Congress the power to set taxes, including tariffs, but lawmakers have gradually let presidents assume more power over tariffs, and Mr. Trump has made the most of it. That he has. The court's ruling does not cover all of Donald Trump's tariffs. This must be like not a. Who's the author of this? The author must not be American. That's why he's calling him Mr. Trump. Let's see. For instance, his levies on foreign steel, aluminum, and autos were imposed during a different regulation after Commerce Department investigations concluded that those imports were threats to U.S. national security. Nor does it include tariffs that Mr. Trump imposed on China in his first term and President Biden kept. After a government investigation, holy shit. Okay, you know what? You know why people don't look at the fucking news websites? Because their ads from all sorts of things make it impossible for the shit to stay in the same fucking spot on your screen. Sorry, is that a crash out? Did I just crash out? I got really angry there. It's not long, Jason. That's not long enough for a clip. I don't know. So here's the thing: the Supreme Court is going to make a ruling on this, and I think they're most likely going to side with the president, especially when this is going to take several months. The Court of Appeals already gave Donald Trump like 5 or 6 months to fight this, so the Supreme Court could sit there and go, we don't really like the idea of a president just being able to throw taxes wherever he wants. But by then, we're going to have probably $1 trillion back into the federal government's budget from tariffs. And the Supreme Court's going to say, well, the economic good is way too good. So, yeah, the president can do this. That's probably what's going to happen. Yeah, guys, it was not pretty. I 100%, guys. I'm sorry. I hope nobody was listening with headphones in. This is what was happening. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, let's share this for a second. Y'all see. So I'm sitting there reading this section. And every single time I'm reading something, this ad spot disappears and then loads in another ad, which pulls all of this stuff up and down, up and down, up and down. It's just annoying. Okay, so redistricting. I am a personal believer in doing things right. And I don't think Texas is doing anything wrong. I don't think Donald Trump is doing anything wrong in trying to find more votes, more seats. I don't think they're necessarily wrong. The problem is that when you start doing things differently than the way you've been doing them, I think there's a problem. And I don't like the idea of we won, so we're going to change everything, and then in 15 years they win and they go, well, we're going to change everything now. And I'm not a fan of that. I think one of the great things of the system that our forefathers and our fathers and that we have set up and are trying to maintain, I think one of the great things about it is that its permanence allows for disagreements and allows for ups and downs and lefts and rights. You know, I don't think any of us would be having this conversation 40 years ago. You know, back when we were actually able to, when bipartisanship was an actual thing. What I would like to see happen is instead of having Texas do this and now California and then Illinois, South Carolina, Florida, instead of having this, what I would like is I would like the federal government to run a new census. We know 20 was wrong. A lot of bad stuff from 20. So we know it was fucked up. So let's do a new one, okay? And then let's apportion votes based off of that. And then let the states redistrict. That's what I want to see happen. I think that would be because everyone would get to say they won. Republicans would get to say that they won because they got not only did they get a new census, which took seats away, but then they got to redistrict. Democrats would get to say they won because they forced the Republicans to obey the system. And when I say that, I mean that the Republicans or whoever followed what we've been doing for 250 years. You have a census, then you redistrict. That's what I think we should do. I think we should run a new census. I don't think we should wait for 2030. I think if we wait for 2030, we risk a lot of bullshit in 2028 and 2030. But I don't think it's smart for these states to just go ahead and say, okay, we're going to redistrict and change everything. I think they need to do it in a better way. I also don't think it's smart for Gavin Newsom to make this his entire campaign, because that's what this is. He has now turned this into his entire argument for why he should be president. Buddy, California is going to lose 10 seats. They're going to lose 5 seats from the illegal aliens. And then they're going to lose 5 seats from all the people that fucking left California. Yes. Mm-hmm. That is the theme of the night. And honestly, it's a pretty good theme. By the way, if anyone ever thinks of starting this kind of thing and you want quick views fast, stick Gavin Newsom on your thumbnail. You'll get a whole lot of liberals that hate you. You'll be called fat, ugly, and a retard. But you will get to laugh at their complete incompetence. Which is pretty fucking fun. Okay, well, so honestly, I really only did this tonight to get another one done. There's a lot of stuff I need to talk about, and partly so that I could kind of clue into what I wanted to make some videos on tomorrow that I'm going to start pushing out for the rest of the week. This is going to be on Thursday nights. I only did this because it's been too long since I've done one. In fact, I think it had been what was my last one? 3 weeks ago. And I can't let that happen again. So I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all know. The next one is oh shit. The next one is September 11th, the 24th anniversary of 9/11. Jason, fucking behave. Oh, that's gonna be fun. We're gonna behave, guys. Everyone's gonna behave. It's like 9/11. Oh, jeez. Guys, that's gonna be it for tonight. Sound like a fucking pilot. I do think, okay, it's 9. I do think I'm going to play some video games. But I'm not sure what I'm going to play yet. First off, everyone, thank y'all for being here. Thank y'all for watching. One of the best things about having people in the live streams is not only does the chat go, does it actually talk, does it give me ideas to talk about and help move the chat, move the stream along, but it also ups the watch hours, and that's going to be the most difficult thing to get this channel monetized. We're sitting at 300 subs now. I'm hoping to have the 500 by probably not the end of this month or the next month, but hopefully by the end of November we're monetized. We do a big celebration stream. Maybe we do something for the election. So we'll see. But until then, I hope everyone has a great night. I still don't think I have an outro. So we're just going to end on this. Hope you all have a great night. I'll see y'all next time. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.